Welcome to Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. It's Thanksgiving morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you're able to enjoy the holiday with your friends and family. I'm going to spend the morning moving the last two of my blinds, and then I'll get with my family. So I've got two of them that I moved yesterday, and two more I'm going to do today. And you know, we've hunted almost all of October and November from tree stands. And tree stands really are, for the most part, the best option for hunting the rut. The deer are moving through the timber. You know, it's really hard to hunt them out of a blind. You know, we showed the downfalls of that on that hunt on the, I think it was the 22nd of November with Jordan coming to that water hole where we were in the blind. But there's definitely a time and a place for blinds, and these next few weeks are the time, and hopefully I've got a few of the right spots lined up to be the place. So let me talk about these four. The first one is a spot that you've probably seen in the past. It's up on the ridge above the buildings. We call it the Rainbow Field, and there's been a fair amount of activity there. Quite a few bucks coming to that, some in daylight. There's been some bucks there that I would shoot, definitely 2 or 3, and 2 or 3 more as a minimum that Jordan would be happy to shoot. So it's a productive spot, and that sets up for any kind of a north or a northwest wind. And we're gonna have some of that coming up in the next few days. And the second spot that I set up, I took the blind from the water hole and just moved it down into the valley. So we're just up the valley from the scrape tree. I knocked down some corn so we'd have a place to shoot, push the blind in there. It's on the upper end of that valley, so it's really close, really below. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bedding ridges, bedding points that overhang that valley. And I hadn't been getting hardly any pictures down in there, and I moved that blind in, made the shooting area, and put a camera out in front of it, and I was picking up, there was 2 bucks out there within just a couple of hours after I left there yesterday evening. So that was interesting. That I guess they associate the sound of the tractor with farming activity, combines, whatever, and then the blind doesn't mean a thing. I never even looked at the blind. So I guess it's just a grain wagon. These deer are so conditioned to farming activities that if you can mix your hunting strategies around the traditional farming activities, you can get a little bit of a leg up on them. So I'm going to move 2 more, like I said, and after I get done with these 2, I'll come back in again and I'll tell you how these are set up. I'm not 100% sure yet what I'm going to do with them, so I'm not going to talk about them first. I'll wait till I get them moved, and then I'll wrap up the episode after that. Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, the Hunt Stand app, Whitetail Institute, Research Equals Results, B3 Archery, Muddy Outdoors Tree Stands, Stealth Cam Trail Cameras, My Outdoor TV, and Hoyt. I've got location number 3 pretty well figured out. I had the farmer who cash rents the farm ground leave an acre strip of standing corn along this side hill. That's a pretty handy way to get food plots planted, because I mean, I paid for the inputs and didn't charge him obviously for rent on that acre. So it worked out real good for me. I do think that as it starts to get cold, the deer are going to want the corn. Just to my left, I've got the brassica plot. It's the wintergreens from Whitetail Institute, and that's where the deer have been all fall. They've been in there pretty thick. This is the spot that I call Old Unreliable. And it earned its name, honestly, over the years. We've had some good hunts here, but I have yet to shoot a deer on this part of the farm. And I think with the cold weather coming, and then especially if I'm going to stretch it out into the late season, the corn is probably going to be a good payoff during that time frame. I'll probably never put another blind on this farm or any farm without putting it on a trailer. And I do love, like I said, I do love blinds for certain times of the year. And we're coming up on that time. There might be a couple more days left, maybe one, of sitting in tree stands on the ridges. But from here on out, it's going to be all about the food. And nothing works better when you're hunting right on a food source than a blind. And these redneck blinds are really nice because they're easy to shoot out of. They got the vertical corner windows. They're warm enough. You can run a little heater in there if it gets really cold. It's easy to film out of them. And then the deer, if you leave them in that area, like I said, having them on the trailer really is nice because you can leave it in the area. And then when you move it from spot to spot, the deer don't seem to pay that much attention to it. They don't register it as something new. It's almost like a piece of farm equipment that you came and moved. The deer don't freak out when you do stuff like that. So location number 3 is set. And then I got one more spot, then I'm wrapped up for the day. That's the 4th one. This one was pretty challenging because it's such a big field. I think the bean plot is probably 1.5 acres, maybe 2 acres. And this is more what you'd call a gun stand. I really don't like bow hunting out of gun stands, but I couldn't figure out a way to narrow this one down. Sorghum behind, beans in the front. One of the reasons that I picked the spot that I did on top of this knob is the sorghum behind. There's some forage sorghum that's it's about probably 9 feet tall when it's fully standing, but now with all the frosts it's starting to break down, so it's pretty thick and it's bent over. Be easy to get out at the end of legal shooting time. I've got the blind backed up to it, so I can at least hopefully get out, get back in behind that taller sorghum, and then sneak out that way if there are deer on the lower end of this plot. Like I said, this one's tough. I don't like it as well as the other 3. I know there's some nice bucks in this area, and I'm really sure that with all these beans, there's still tons of standing beans here. It's going to pull deer. And there's going to be some bucks using this during the late season, maybe even sooner, maybe even the end of November. It's days like this, I wish I had a cab on my tractor. Most of the time that open station works really well for getting around underneath trees, but the cab would be nice when it gets really cold. So those are the 4 spots that I've set up. I've got let's see, the one in the apple orchard, and I've still got one blind. If I got one blind, yes, one more blind that I haven't put out. So if something catches my eye, you know, as we get closer to the winter time, I've got one that I can move in. And I can always move these 2. Like I said, that's the beauty of putting these redneck blinds on trailers, is you can tweak them. But I do think that one of these 4 blinds is going to produce some action. The buck that I'm hunting with the split brows was on this plot yesterday at night. He's a night roamer, but that doesn't mean that when it gets cold that we won't start catching that deer in daylight. It's nice to have the tractor. It gives me a way to intrude and get this work done without the deer really being all that nervous about it. They're so used to tractors and human activity revolving around farming that they don't pay any attention to it. They're bedded, I don't know, maybe 150 yards away from where I'm standing. I doubt they're paying the least bit of attention to what I'm doing now. So I'm gonna get out of here and go get some turkey. Well, I appreciate you joining me. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I'll see you right back here again, probably tomorrow, for the next episode of Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. And remember to always dream big.